something you can...
Welcome to 2018, second season of the podcast, and we have a couple of changes happening. From now on, I'll have two co-hosts joining me, Vitor and Marco. They'll introduce themselves in a little bit. And also the podcast episodes will also be available in video format. During Christmas, I spent some time in Portugal with my family, and I was watching some of these guys actually doing some videos and on Tech Talk London, which they do, and some other videocasters. And I started actually understanding that I wanted to do more and more of video format. And that's what I'll be doing as well. I'll be focusing a little bit as well on my YouTube channel. So, Marco, Vitor, do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Sure, Marco, you can introduce yourself.
Thank you, Vitor. So kind of you. So my name is Marco Silva. I'm a techie focused in startups, and basically that's it.
That's a short intro. I'm not sure if I should introduce myself because you already have an interview with me. Actually, with both, right?
Well, I had with both of you, but you might as well introduce yourself if people are new listening to the podcast, right?
So I'm Vitor Domingos, VD on Twitter, and I work in technology for donkey's years. So yeah,
you're old.
I'm old. Lots of white hair. Great.
You still work with mainframes, right?
No, I don't. The company that I'm going to repeat that for the last time. Hopefully for the last time. The company I work for actually competes with the mainframes.
That's a mainframe.
Exactly. But no, I don't work with mainframes. I work with brand new technology filled with bugs.
I'm sure this week you would have loved to have been working with mainframes, though, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
So on first topic, and for our listeners, from now on, we actually have a shared agenda between the three of us. And sometimes when we have a guest, we'll have some common questions we want to ask our guest. But Vitor, you put on our agenda to talk a little bit about cryptocurrencies. So tell us a little bit about what you want to talk on that topic.
Okay, so cryptocurrencies. I've seen a lot of people recently. Well, two things. First of all, there's this hype around Bitcoin and the price that we pay for Bitcoin coins, right? It got really into
fucked up.
Yeah, well, sort of. Before Christmas, it was really high. Then during Christmas, it really dropped, but then it picked up again. So it's really fun and funny to see how the whole Bitcoin thing is, and even Peter Thiel, the guy that invested in Facebook and Uber and that kind of stuff, actually puts a lot of money into Bitcoin. So he's shifting his investment strategy to Bitcoin, and what I see is that a lot of people right now are looking at how to mine coins. So they're investing in those ASIC processors and machines. They're buying GPUs. They're buying racks to mine things, and it's a really good theme to probably start talking about these whole cryptocurrencies, and probably you can give us some kind of perspective from Switzerland, because as I remember, you can actually buy the Bitcoins there, right?
So you can do multiple things here. I would say Switzerland is probably actually one of the countries that has been adapting cryptocurrencies better than anyone else. So you've got Bitcoin ATMs. You can pay for the train tickets already with Bitcoin at the train station. On top of that, private banks like Falcon Bank are already selling not just Bitcoin, but other other cryptocurrencies to their private clients as well. You can go to the bank and say, I want to buy X amount of Ethereum, and they'll sell it to you. On top of that, of course, we've got the Crypto Valley in Zug, which is actually not that far from here. And really, the banks here are trying to adopt the whole cryptocurrencies thing really, really hard. On top of that, the other institution that has really adopted and is really loving cryptocurrencies is the government. I can tell you as an example for myself, I cashed out on all my cryptocurrencies in December when it peaked at 19K, and I had to pay taxes on it already. We already have cryptocurrencies declared in the IRS and the entire system. So it's really, I don't want to say going mainstream, because like I haven't really heard my mom say, "How can I buy the Bitcoin?" But it's getting there. It's getting there.
Yeah.
Well, I heard someone just messaged me because back in Portugal, if you have a bank account in Santander and you actually buy and sell Bitcoins, they're going to send you a letter of closing down the account. Because
What?
Yeah, they're sending letters.
For what reason?
Because you're buying and selling Bitcoins.
Interesting, because I remember some people during Christmas talking to the Portuguese government regarding taxes and what would Bitcoin be taxed, and what people figured out was that you wouldn't be taxed by Bitcoins. So people buying and selling Bitcoins could do it basically tax-free almost.
So it's not almost, it's really tax-free, because in Portugal right now it doesn't fit the economic system or whatever you call it. There is no legal way for the government to charge you for cryptocurrency. So right now you don't get taxed for any money you get out of Bitcoin.
Interesting. Yeah. So actually it would be better for you to have Bitcoins in Portugal than in Switzerland.
Exactly, but unfortunately, unfortunately, I can't say unfortunately, right? Because it's quite good to pay taxes here in Switzerland. But yes, in that case specifically, it would have been better to have my taxes in Portugal. I actually wanted to read to you guys. I read a tweet this week, and I wanted to read it to you guys because it actually made me think a little about this whole cryptocurrencies thing. Just give me a second. I'm just trying to find it here. And it's actually a Portuguese guy. He doesn't live in Portugal anymore, but you both know him, Fred Oliveira, at F on Twitter. And he tweeted, "Today in the news, the UK is considering a GBP-linked cryptocurrency. Russia is considering a crypto ruble. North Korea may be using Bitcoin to fund itself. If you work in technology and still consider cryptocurrencies a fad, read those bullet points again." And I think it kind of has a point, right? I mean, I think we're now past the point where we can't just say, it's a fad and it's going to come and go. And in a sense, if we actually look at the price of Bitcoin over the last month, it's stabilized quite a bit. It's been between 14 to 15K and it's stayed there. I can't remember really the last time it has been that stable.
Ethereum has been growing a little bit, but it's slower than before.
All the others are still pretty volatile. But for Bitcoin specifically, I can't remember the last time that for 1 month it wasn't as stable as it is right now. I don't know if it's a change or not, but it's quite a good thing to see.
Yeah.
Maybe we can actually start, taking it seriously as a currency.
I wouldn't say call it a currency. It's still a high-risk investment at the moment. Okay, it's a way to exchange value between people. Of course, you can exchange with convert your Bitcoin to fiat with some Bitcoin exchange, but it's still a high-risk investment. I wouldn't call it a currency yet. It's like I mentioned a couple of months ago. Like, I don't see Bitcoin as the final. It's the coin that we might use in the future as the solution. It's the first cryptocurrency. It's the first example of what we can do and all the different uses that come from it. But we see now that there are different coins coming out. Litecoin, Ethereum is one of the most famous. Ripple that's been used between banks. So different crypto coins coming out that resolve some of the issues that Bitcoin has. For example, processing power, speed. Because now if I want to send some Bitcoins to you, it will take maybe around 5-6 hours, and it costs me maybe around $40 to do it. Well, if
the fees are extremely high.
Yeah, exactly.
I paid a lot of fees to get my money back.
Exactly. Imagine, for example, Amazon or eBay, if they want to support cryptocurrency, they can't wait 6-7 hours to know that the transaction is valid.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that would be a problem with Bitcoin that other cryptocurrencies will start resolving. Ethereum still takes some hours also, or some minutes, but IOTA and Ripple or whatever it's called, they are quite fast. So the technology is evolving.
IOTA is a funny topic. So I've always been a big zealot for IOTA. However, the whole Microsoft partnership shenanigans kind of put me a little bit off it.
Yeah.
I actually got out of IOTA around that time because I don't know, it just felt weird that they were calling it a partner and then Microsoft wasn't actually a partner. I don't know. IOTA, I took a step back on IOTA. I'm not 100% sure what to believe from the development team anymore. Though I have to say Bosch is apparently going all in on IOTA. They've put in capital investment and everything into the IOTA Foundation.
Well, let's see.
So we'll see. So another big topic this week is, of course, the CPU bugs, right? So Meltdown and Spectre. There's still a lot of confusion going around. I mean, it's been 24 hours since it has been announced.
Day number 3 of 2018.
Patched? Have you guys done anything about that?
Well, I don't know. I just panic. That's a really good thing to start. Probably I'm going to build a war room after that. But to be honest, I think it's going to affect everyone. Looking at the details that were just released yesterday or today, I don't remember. So it was. So it's going to be a problem, pretty much for everyone, as I can tell. We were just having earlier discussion about if we can actually hack someone remotely, about
that topic specifically. So I did a bit more reading after we had our conversation on that topic. So apparently, with Meltdown you can't. With Spectre you can. So essentially you can insert some JavaScript that is able to read parts of the memory. I think it's 2000 bytes at a time or something like that. I'm not 100% sure on that, so don't take my word for it. But with Spectre, apparently, and even Google has proof of concept code for Spectre that works with JavaScript.
Yeah.
For Meltdown, apparently, you do need to have a local access of some sort, maybe previously a shell, or you have full access, physical access to the machine, something at that level. However, and as bad as these attacks are, what I would like to talk a little bit about, you guys, and get your opinion on, is the behind-the-scenes part. So, to give you a bit of context, the vulnerability was found, and it was embargoed. That means only a certain amount of people knew about it. That means only certain companies knew about it, and they didn't even know full details. And I would like to hear your opinion about this, because essentially what happened is that someone went and read AMD's patch notes and some details from, I think, the BSD mailing list, and ended up being able to reverse engineer that to understand what the vulnerability was. So it came out nonetheless. So what's your opinion on that? Should there be a full disclosure? Do the embargoes work? What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think that we need to split those, right? Because the embargo, I think it went for the media, right? So before the media got the full details of the disclosure. And then it was the other one for actually the companies that were working on this, right? So we heard that, most of them today launched their patches. We heard that Amazon has been doing that for the past month or so. Google already did those patches. Microsoft launched today a new patch for Windows. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Apple. So the major vendors, they are getting ready for that. So there's no embargo there. I think that the embargo went for the media, right? For the public itself. And for the public itself, without having the patch, I think that's kind of a bad way of doing things. I would prefer for such a critical bug that I got the patch before I actually knew that there was something wrong with it. But that's kind of my take on as a user point of view. From a professional point of view, I'm not sure if the embargo is a good thing for professionals, because they need to have access to this kind of information as soon as possible. But I also think that there are ways of getting that information through the proper channels. So the media went nuts and actually published something before, or is this a good practice? I don't think so, but that's kind of my take.
And it was kind of impressive that, also based on the Google report, this was discovered around May. AMD was notified around July. So considering it's been maybe at least 6 months, it took us 6 months to come out. So I think the embargo did work up to some point. It's been more of the patches coming out in the Linux mailing list, things like that. That's made people realize that something is happening and is going on. And like Victor mentioned, this is something critical. If you look at the cloud providers, this is something that affects all of them. Every system, every cloud computing, even banks or that have their systems like private clouds, whatever you call it, their systems are a bit in risk. So it is a critical vulnerability, something that's okay. I think it took the correct amount of time to be resolved.
Well, and if you think of it, it has two kind of impacts. The first one is from a security point of view.
Yeah.
It's really bad. As Tiago said, one of the bugs actually can have a remote exploit, but it also has an economic impact. So we have been told that the patch on Windows will slow down the machine by 30%. And for the people that are actually doing this on a cloud scale, on large scale, that's going to have a huge economic impact when dealing with those instances and those machines. Yeah. I was just telling Marco at lunchtime that actually probably Amazon and the other cloud providers will sort that out for you. So instead of having a 2 gigahertz CPU, you're going to have 2.2 just to cope with the 30% loss that probably you're going to have on your instance. But it still has this kind of economic impact on cloud providers, on computers, on performance. And as I said, as a user, I don't want my computer 30% slower because I don't want to. So it's really a nasty one. It's really a bad way to start the year.
And what's your take to it, Tiago? Because this is really your topic. You're the full-on security guy that knows the background of things are working.
So here's the thing, right? So let's start with the embargoes. I don't really believe in embargoes working in any way. The embargo not only covered the media, but it actually covered as well companies and researchers that were aware of what was happening and they couldn't talk outside. The thing is, this vulnerability actually was apparently a dual finding. And what that means is that actually someone found this vulnerability quite a few months ago, and now someone found it again. And if it's such a critical thing that, and at some point 2 people found it, that means there was a 3rd, 4th, and 5th person finding it as well. So I would say I'm a big fan of full disclosure. You found something, release it. It forces the vendors to create patches. It forces the people to try and mitigate as soon as possible, because even if there wasn't a patch, at least now people can try and install ad blockers or fully block ads. If they weren't doing it already, they should have. But at least it makes you a bit more proactive rather than just, kind of giving you that wait time. So I'm a big believer in full disclosure. I don't think there should be embargoes. I don't think there should be, even Google, when they find the vulnerability in someone else's software, they give 90 days for that vendor to patch and then they open it to the world. I would be like, no, fuck it. You found something, open it up. I know that can be a bit extreme. I know that there are people that always say, oh, you must have never worked in a place where you have critical machines. Look, I've worked managing a root CA. I've worked with banks. I've dealt with managing more than 300 machines when I was working at a telco. I've done all of that. And trust me, when there was any chance that me and my team could wait onto patching, everyone was always an advocate for waiting. And we saw it as well, right, Marco? We reported a vulnerability to a telco 2 weeks ago that apparently they already knew for over a month and they hadn't patched it. They just patched it because we reminded them that the vulnerability was there. And we said, look, we're going to write a blog about this. And then they were like, yeah, we're going to patch it. I mean, look, people, no matter who it is, if they can work less and get paid the same, they'll do it. Yeah. That's the reality.
And
security is a pain in the ass, right?
Yeah, and this is a big vulnerability. So this in, let's call it the black market, this would be a really high valuable bug.
Absolutely. Look, if you can extract pieces of memory, I mean, we saw it with Heartbleed. We were lucky that Heartbleed never really got exploited in large scale, but we saw it. Heartbleed was a nasty vulnerability. You could leak pieces of memory, you could find interesting stuff, and in situations where, because don't forget, right? So, for example, with Spectre, I'll need to look. Sorry, with Meltdown, if we are in a cloud environment, in the sense of that you have a VPS, are you able to leak memory of the actual host?
From what I from what I heard, that was the main problem for cloud providers, is because you from one VM could dump the memory from the physical host where you are, so you could access information that from other VMs, kind of. At least that's from what I understood.
If you think from a government scale, it's not even that hard then to create a mass exploitation of this. You just buy a bunch of VMs, have these things running, rotate all the VMs, put 100 new VMs up. I mean, look, we do it for scanning, right? We bring hundreds of VMs up and down each week. So imagine from a government perspective, they're trying to do a large-scale exploitation of this. It's the same thing. So if you want my opinion, I say find something, release it with as much detail as possible so that you can create good patches for it and have people mitigate as soon as possible. And that's it. I mean, that's my opinion on it.
Well, at least if you can join the other, so if you mine coins, you're not going to have an issue with performance, right? Because you're doing that on GPUs and the type of CPUs.
Yeah, but the thing is, this is, like you mentioned, this is going to have a financial impact. Talking this morning with some people that have loads on the cloud, and they said that they already felt the impact of around 20% a load, and they already had to increase their clusters to keep hosted. Even on even on our side, we felt this on some of our machines. Mid-December, I started feeling like, okay, the load doesn't. It's strange. What happened here? Why are these machines that used to work no problem? Why are they having these issues now? And this explains it.
30% is a big amount. I mean, 30% is not soft. I actually looked at Phoronix or whatever it's called. I put it on an engineering channel, Marco. Like some of the results they were having, like in terms of files, file reading or something like that, it was even 50%.
Yeah.
One of the CPUs was having a 50% impact. That's gigantic. I mean, it's really crazy. So let's hope and see what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks. But InfoSec should definitely be a good area to be in terms of work over 2018.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like I said, it's day number 3 of 2018, and we are screwed already. So what else?
So moving on to happier and fun things. Fandom. Vitor linked us here something called the Tesla suit. I'll make sure to put the links in the description. Vitor, can you tell us a little bit about this? Because it looks really cool.
It's going to be the next evolution of the Tesla car.
Just a second. Just a second. Before we go into this, what's your opinion on virtual reality?
VR or AR?
Well, let's go with both, right? One or the other. And where do you see it going?
Well, VR...
Because like for me, VR has been a big fad until now-ish.
Well, for me, it's a bit creepy, VR. I do prefer the AR. I see the more kind of use cases for AR at the moment, especially around industry, especially around people that actually need more information when they're doing something. VR for me is something that it's like second reality, right? So we're going to create this kind of world where we can live in and we can do our stuff disconnected from the real world. I do prefer both, a bit of both, right? So so AR for me is going to be probably better than actually VR.
I agree. I see it a little bit like VR will replace maybe our cinemas, where you disconnect from the real world and you go to watch your Star Wars, your Marvel movies. You go into this different world, and it will be pretty cool to have.
It's an immersive experience.
In a room. Yeah, but on my day-to-day, like if I'm driving or if I'm on the street, I wouldn't mind having some small glasses that are AR enabled, right? That can give me the weather, when the next train is coming, all of that. I think VR there, it's going to be a more complicated use. Yeah. But tell us a little bit about the Tesla suit.
So the Tesla suit, as you guys, after you can see the link that Tiago is going to put on, is for those who read the book of Ready Player One. So it's a haptic suit that you can put on, and you can go into the virtual reality world and actually can feel what happens in the virtual world, right? So if someone punches you in the guts, you're gonna feel it, which is going to be amazing. right? If you're gonna do some video gaming and you're shooting someone, you can actually feel the shot. It's not going to be that bad, obviously, but it's a suit that you can put on and you can feel more things in your body when it comes to virtual reality. I can imagine that's going to have a lot of use cases around the kind of sexy industry, video gaming, and that kind of stuff. For the normal use, like me and Marco, that doesn't, let's say, video gaming like you, Tiago. I don't think that we're gonna use it at all. But it's something that's already in the market. I see that as probably an evolution of things. We already had gloves. We already had helmets. We can smell things from the virtual reality world. Now you can feel it throughout our body.
This, like, I was just looking at the page and it looks freaking awesome. I'm again just thinking, where would I use this in the sense of like a physical room? Because, like, I'm looking around. I've got a couch there. I've got my desk here. I can see me putting the glasses and bang into the table, fall over, hurt my head.
I would say for this, you would need...
It looks amazing.
Yeah, I would say for this, you need some of those platforms that already exist for VR. So you can strap on top, you run, you walk, and the platform moves like you're moving in the same place. So I think
that the key word here is strap on, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So do you guys want to go on a small bet here? How much do you think for a cost on a suit like this?
I'm going for $3,000 at least.
Well, probably it's going to be more.
I'm aiming for 5K.
Yeah, something like that. It's not going to be that cheap. I think that if you look at right now, a helmet and those kind of little things that you put on your hand, it costs you around $300, $400 to buy. So entire suit is going to be probably more expensive. But I can see a lot of people doing laser tag with those suits on.
Yeah, I was thinking just about
that kind of stuff. Actually, there's a company here in London that does this kind of stuff. So you put a helmet, instead of doing laser tag, you put a helmet, you put those lasers the same, but instead of being in that kind of world of going up and down and doing those kind of things, you are in a VR world.
Yeah.
So you have your headphones, you have your helmet, you can shoot people, you can feel things. So imagine that you go through a cave and there's some water, you can feel the water because there's a sprinkler system above you and you can feel that. So with the suit, probably you're going to get more experience on those VR systems, yes.
For the price basis that I'm giving, I'm actually going through like the different things that at least they're saying on the website that it's going to offer. And first, it's going to have 14 motion capture sensors. And actually, apparently, it's not going to be dependent on a computer because it has onboard data processing. Only that already sounds expensive. And then it gets better. The suit is washable.
Oh, yeah.
It might sound like something silly, but having all this technology and yet something that can go on water and be washable, this thing is going to be expensive. And it can also do climate change inside the suit from 20 to 40 degrees.
Yeah. Well,
this is going to be expensive.
I think that they're going to launch an ICO soon to finance those things, right?
That would be great if they launched an ICO. There's no reason for the suit to be expensive because they'll have a bunch of money just to make it cheaper then.
Exactly. And then they run away, and there you go.
And then you just stuck to the movie and to the book. But the Tesla suit comes from I think it comes from the idea from the Ready Player One book where Alexa just started, which is really amazing. So it comes from the book, and I recommend everyone to read the book which you then can link on the stuff that you're doing with this.
When is the movie coming out?
This year. You already
this year. I think soon, like February.
Yeah, you already have a bunch of trailers.
I saw the trailers. I just didn't know the date. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's around February. If I'm not wrong. Before we finish up our episode, Vitor, you've been a big zealot and fan of the whole voice in 2018. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I'm saying this because your Alexa just started talking to you, right?
Yeah.
So it makes sense that I ask your opinion on that topic.
Thank you for asking then. So I think that voice is going to be like a new operating system. We're doing a podcast. We're using our voice. We need a device, or we need a thing that actually we can tell someone to do something, and that something is going to be done. We need a platform to do that. We have bits and bobs of that kind of technology all around, right? So we have Siri, we have Cortana, we have the Alexa platform, we have a lot of different things, but we don't have an entire solution that could really help people on building things, on doing their personal things. So imagine that you're a blind person. Voice is going to be the way for you to interact with something. Imagine that you're handicapped. How can you actually have access to something that could respond to you, something that could interact with you? Or you're in the car and actually you want to give a command to something, you want to interact with that. As I said, we have that technology is being around us. We have Google Voice, we have voice-enabled things. But in my opinion, the Alexa platform is going to be probably the best one because it has they already have the platform. They already have a marketplace around it. You can actually do something with it, right? Because if you look at the new Siri, thing that they're going to launch,
the HomePod.
Yeah, exactly. It misses. It's going to miss the back end, right? So what are you going to do with that? Play music? But that's something you can do, right? You're going to do what? Buy things? Actually, you can't, because you need a good e-commerce platform like the one from Amazon. That's where I think that the whole partnership between Microsoft and Amazon went through, of enabling people to use their own computers and tablets and have access to the Alexa platform to buy things. So I think that the new feature is going to be about voice. It's going to be about voice-enabled systems. It's going to be about you interacting with your house through your voice. IoT is going to be the end platform to connect things, but you need something to interact with that, and that's going to be your voice. The voice probably is going to be the operating system, so you're going to give commands, you're going to have context, and you're going to get feedback.
Yeah.
So remaining on this topic, what do you think is missing? In the sense of, you mentioned that Amazon has the marketplace, right? They have, at least from what I've seen, a pretty good SDK to develop Alexa skills. What do you think are missing? Is it people that dedicate their time and skills to do this? Is it it can't be an ecosystem, right? Because the ecosystem exists, or does it need to get better? What do you think it's still missing, or what do you think Amazon, for example, should focus on this year?
Well, it's still, but Alexa is a good platform. It's been here for the past 3 years. It's already in the market. Has some languages in English, Indian, and Chinese.
Not is it? I think Portuguese. Also.
No, it's not. So it has Indian, German, and English. That's the main 3 languages for Alexa. So from a language point of view, I think that they need to expand to other languages. But I also think that the platform needs to give more feedback. So they started notifications last year for developers, which means that if I don't give any kind of command to the Alexa, I can get notifications from there. So imagine that I'm going to put something on my calendar. So Alexa is going to notify me of something that I need to do. So then the whole notification system needs to advance. And I think that because Amazon just launched the Echo with the Home Hub below the new Echo, right? So they have the Echo Dot, the Echo small one, and the bigger one, the one that I have. They launched that with a Smart Hub. So for them to connect the whole your whole house to it. So I think that the next move with Amazon, either going to be a partnership with IKEA, with some furniture, let's say manufacturer, to integrate your home into the platform so that you can control things with your voice. Also, the next thing is going to be about notifications from Amazon. But from my point of view, what's missing is actually having access to the Alexa platform through their own devices. You're kind of limited to the functionality as a developer that you can get. You can't get the voice, you can't get any kind of hardware. You just get the feedback, like an API response from the Alexa platform, and actually you can't interact with that. So you can't debug the whole thing properly. But I see that as a huge thing to develop. So they have the marketplace, they have the skills, they are launching. There's a lot of developers doing that. Funny enough, there are not that many to develop against the Google platform. So pretty much they're doing that into Amazon Alexa. But it's like when you look at the first applications from the App Store. It was the flashlight. It was
really basic applications.
That kind of basic application. So right now, when you develop an application for the App Store on Apple, you get a lot of functionality from the App Store, from the device. So it's still the early days for Alexa and the whole platform. So I see that as the beginning of something, and they need to be more open in the future. And you're gonna do more stuff, and there's going to be more Alexa enabled things, not just the devices from Amazon, but like cars, like new soundbars, TVs, that kind of stuff. I think that next year or so we're going to see TVs with the remote controls through Alexa. That's going to be probably the major shift.
Because this year we already have Sonos releasing like new speakers with the Google Home Assistant and Alexa. Coincidence, Siri, no one's releasing nothing with Siri, but also Siri comparing to the other ones are quite limited. But one of the things I think misses a bit in the ecosystem, let's call it like that, or the capabilities from Google Home or Alexa. It's like you mentioned, okay, this is the first version. That's the first 2 years of Alexa and Google Home. These providers are improving the system each year, each month. There's a new functionality coming. But one of the things that I think that needs to improve more is the voice recognition capabilities. So now when you develop a new skill for Alexa, at least, I don't know about Google, it's quite scripted. You have to really write all the correct sentences that you expect the user to say. And if a user says something slightly different, Alexa won't be able to recognize it or to trigger the correct function. So I think it needs to... Okay, Alexa is talking here. So I would say like maybe Amazon has that capability already on their side, but they haven't opened it for the developers yet. Because when you talk to Alexa on the official capabilities that it provides you, it's quite free, the conversation. Even talking to Google, like Google, what does this animal sound like? Or what does it sound like that? What do I have in my own day to do today? Or put this in the calendar. You can speak quite freely on the official functions.
Yes. That's right. But if you think of it as Amazon is building an operating system, so it needs to be heavily scripted. If you give more freedom to the whole platform, like Google Home or Siri, yes, you can use AI to detect patterns and to detect any kind of awkward expressions. But the thing is it really good? It's going to be good for that specific use case. But imagine that you are in a car, right? You work at a power plant or in a factory. You actually need to be scripted, because anything that you can do with your voice needs to be a proper command to do something. So I think that they are training the users right now to be more scripted. They're creating the operating system. Probably in the future, they're going to integrate any kind of intelligence into it. And you can actually have a proper conversation. But from an industrial point of view and use case, I think that being scripted right now, it's a good way of doing things.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I think, it's the first version, and to train the system, it needs that reader there. But I expect for this to be able to grow and to be more spread, it needs more freedom from the humans. Humans can't be like this. Okay, let me try to say the sentence this way. Okay, no, let me try it this way. You can't wait 3 or 4 times until you get the correct sentence. Yeah. So the system needs to evolve into that capability to be more widespread.
I think Vitor said it best. It's like being back at
you'd like to add
the first iPhone, with the first apps, the flashlight and all that. It's the basics. They're building the foundation for it. One last session I wanted to ask you, Vitor, before we head off. Well, to both of you. every time now that we've talked about this voice and stuff, you guys have been focusing a lot on the users right at home. What about the enterprise? Do you guys also see the enterprise adopting this stuff? Because one of the complaints, privacy advocates made is that everything I say to my Alexa supposedly gets recorded and stays at Amazon. What about like the big companies, that have privacy issues, that have the GDPRs and the PCI DSSs and all that crap? Do you guys also see them adopting these systems? Do you see them adopting different systems that don't exist yet, that would be independent from the recording staying at Amazon? Where do you guys see that going?
Should I take that? Well, we all see Alexa for business. So there's amazing. There's a market for that. I take it as the AWS ecosystem, right? So you have the VPN where you can have your data, where you can protect things, and actually you get secure. So I'm guessing that in the near future you're gonna have the same with voice. So you're gonna have your own private network where you can have voice-enabled enterprises and systems, not just to control meeting rooms and stuff like that, but actually to interact with other people around your business. So it's going to be protected. Right now, you can't have access to the voice out of the Alexa system. As I said, you just have the API return, not the voice itself. You can hear on the app, but actually you can have access to other users of the voice that you can get. That's going to be probably one of the changes on the future. But I think it's going to be inevitable for enterprises to have voice-enabled things, and Alexa for Business is going to be a good jump for them. Yeah.
Or, for example, would be if we wanted to look in a futuristic kind of way, look at Star Trek.
Oh yes.
People inside the ship, we just talk to the computer like, call this person or notify this person about this. So it would just happen around you. It would be ubiquitous to your presence. So I would say it will go there.
Even in Star Trek, they still used trigger words, right? I'm trying to remember now. They still say computer X? Right, and that's like, I've had this conversation with Vidar on the first episode that I interviewed him for the podcast, that it's the one thing I hate about digital assistants is that I have to say the trigger word. Like, for me, it pisses me off. The moment we stop having those, I'm going to be the biggest fan of digital assistants. I already love my Alexa. I mean, sitting right there and controls the lights in the house, controls the computer turning on and off, all that sort of stuff. But I hate having to say the trigger word. Like, it just feels very, I don't say unrealistic, but very disconnected, that I'm not talking to a proper digital assistant. When that stops, I'm going to be a big fan.
Well, see, that's where I don't agree with you. I think that we need an activation for something, like Jarvis or a command or something. Otherwise, you don't know that actually I'm talking to you. Unless...
Are you polite? Are you polite when talking to your digital assistant?
Oh, no.
As in, do you say please? Do you say thank you?
No, I don't, actually. So
have you not seen this on Twitter?
I did,
There's lots of people having this discussion.
Yeah, I did.
Like, whether or not you should be polite to your digital assistant.
Well, I think from an overall point of view, I think that we should. Otherwise, they're going to kill us in the future. But
exactly.
But I think they're keeping a track.
Exactly, but I'm not. I just I expect a fully I expect that the system actually fully do whatever I tell her to do without any kind of doubts and questions. Yeah.
So and sarcasm. In reality, your Alexa is not a digital assistant; it's a digital slave.
Digital slave, exactly.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining me on the first episode of 2018, and I very much look forward to recording the next episodes with you guys.
Sure.
For our listeners, thank you very much for listening, of course, and welcome to 2018.
No.